Hey guys, I'm JP. So I started in 2012-13 buying Bitcoin on MTGOX and BTCE. Back in those days, it's funny how the cycle goes around because we were just buying meme coins on BTCE, which were actually all just forks of Bitcoin. You had Peercoin, Feathercoin, Litecoin, Grossercoin. They're all just forks of Bitcoin. So it's funny watching Murad's talk 2 months ago in Singapore about the meme rotation, but over the last 3 to 4 cycles, it's always been about memes. In fact, Bitcoin is a meme. But anyway, that's something to think about. But when I got rugged on Mount MTGOX and BTCE, I thought I'd devote all my attention to building a decentralized exchange. And it was very ambitious at the time. 2017-18, we started it. And the whole time I thought we were going to fail because it was very technically complex. We had to initially it was multi-sigs, but we realized multi-sig wasn't going to work. It was too opinionated. You had the signing keys on chain. It wasn't chain-agnostic. But in 2018, I discovered the paper that Gennaro and Goldfeder wrote, GG20. It was actually GG18. And it was the first threshold MPC protocol. So we took the threshold MPC protocol, took Cosmos SDK in 2018, which is still beta software, and jammed the two together. We failed a few times, but we kept going. And the dream was always, could we get liquidity on chain to where it mattered the most? And could we get liquidity into the exchanges? Because it was pretty clear that everyone wanted decentralized liquidity, and the entire infrastructure was still building around centralization. MTGOX, even Binance here today. Well done, Binance. But Binance is still today largely centralized. And there's a roadmap of strangulation from regulatory point of view and whatnot around centralized liquidity. And Binance are doing this by trying to move more liquidity into the Web3 wallet, which is launching soon. You should check it out. But what I've noticed is we still are not there yet. And even though we've been building this thing for 6 years, I would say we're still another 6 years away, another 2 cycles away from really realizing this dream. And this wasn't apparent to me back in 2018, but we can actually see this kind of layer appear. We've got the user layer, which is everyone's trying to get 100 million users on chain. Binance have 200 million users. Very jealous of that. Everyone should be very jealous of that. But how do we get those users on chain? Users are going to use wallets, and that's the philosophy there, is the users should have full self-custody of their assets, whether it be Ledger, MetaMask, the new Uniswap wallet, etc., Voltisig, which I'll present today. Users must own their own assets in a wallet layer. Those wallets allow them to connect to interfaces. Interfaces are an opinionated way of accessing, and like interfaces don't need to be decentralized. I've seen many mistakes over the years where like Shapeshift or Tornado Cash or even Uniswap, they either do try and decentralize and they're not, because they're all served through centralized front ends or centralized app stores. So there's no point needing to decentralized interface at all. The interfaces are actually just very thin clients that wrap aggregators. This wasn't apparent to me back in 2018, but seeing 1inch, LeFi, SwapKit, and a bunch of other aggregators emerge, you can definitely see that these aggregators are solving a key point where they're able to solve and look for liquidity from different sources and route them to the users. But these aggregators still don't own the liquidity. The liquidity lives on chain. It could be just-in-time liquidity. It could be intent-based liquidity. It could be passive liquidity. Uniswap V1, I think, was such a beautiful, elegant design. I was there in 2018 when Hayden was presenting it in DevCon 4. And it's a very beautiful design. An F with tokens on constant product liquidity. Over the years, we've complicated it with concentrated liquidity and various other things, and we've chased out retail LPs. So we need to think about, can we make liquidity passive again? And can we stop trying to size up sophisticated LP with unsophisticated LP? And that's the challenge for liquidity protocols. And finally, you have the protocol itself, which is like THORChain or Uniswap or Chainflip. And these protocols should be as decentralized as possible. They should be as faceless as possible. They shouldn't own the user. They shouldn't even own the liquidity. The liquidity should come and go as needed. They shouldn't own the aggregator, and they shouldn't own interface. However, today in 2024, we are still nowhere near yet solving all these problems. And with all the L2s coming online, I mean, I was chatting last night with Centene, it's just going to get more and more fragmented and complex. And how do you think users are going to tolerate all that? So zooming out, how do we build this $100 billion DEX? And the reason why I frame on that valuation is in 2021, 2 centralized exchanges hit $100 billion valuation. Coinbase and Binance did. So we should look to that. The whole decentralized exchange infrastructure should be worth 100B. Maybe not this cycle, but definitely next cycle. And we know the crypto is going to 10x. All centralized exchanges are moving on chain. You've got OKX, Binance, Coinbase, Kraken, all moving on chain to the L2s. The future is multi-chain. I cannot stand here and tell you that Ethereum will win, or Solana will win, or Telegram will win, or some new protocol that we haven't seen yet. What if Apple released a chain or Google released a chain? We don't yet know which infrastructure. Is it monolithic? Is it modular? Is it roll-ups? Is it ZK? We don't know yet. So I'm of the opinion that you should just be chain agnostic. You should move like water, and you should at all times realize that you can't really, well, we have Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, and TON. TON is actually the sleeping giant here. It has almost 1 billion users that Pavel Durov will lead silently on chain, slowly. TON, it will be one of the biggest app chains in the next cycle. One huge app chain opportunity is actually OnlyFans. OnlyFans has been debanked a few times. They make 5-6 billion a year in revenue. They should just try and build an L2. Who's building the infrastructure for OnlyFans right now? So that's the opportunity there. So we need to consolidate the user experience. There's a fair bit coming on here with like chain abstraction, gas abstraction, gas tanks and wallets and whatnot. We've got Ethereum, so Uniswap with the Unichain attempting a new cross-chain standard. So that will solve it. We will have consolidated apps, so users will see, basically they'll have a wallet that does everything, will connect to all these chains. And I've just thrown a few chains up there. You got ETH, Solana, TON. TON's a big one. Bitcoin. These are all completely different architecture. I was sitting down with the team last week because we're trying to connect TON to THORChain right now. TON is extremely difficult. Functional C is a very low-level language. They've got wallet states that can be on or off. And there's a whole bunch of permutations that are just really hard to wrap your head around. Different to Solana, different to even Solana has this notion that transactions can time out, which you don't really see on Ethereum. And so who's actually got all that corporate knowledge to understand all of these chain and the different infrastructure? It's pretty mind-boggling, all the nuances to do with these apps. Now, this is my view of the world. You don't have to agree with me here, but this is what I'm building right now. This is what I've been building for the last 6 years and what I'm going to devote the next 6 years of my life to doing. We need a multi-chain, multi-factor wallet standard. And you can see me on Twitter quote tweeting so many people losing money through private keys. Just use a multi-factor wallet. THORChain runs on multi-party computation, and I think the future of the wallets has to be multi-factor. You can't run around, you can't give a bot a private key. And by the way, there's going to be bots everywhere. So, and actually, here's a side note. You should be building infrastructure for the bots and not really for the next 100 million users. We're going to get 100 million bots or 1 billion bots before we get 1 billion users on chain. So build infrastructure for the bots is a good way to frame yourself. So a multi-factor, multi-chain wallet standards is actually perfectly suited for the bot because it can be supervised, it can be managed, it can, think about all the 0 days out there that if you send a sophisticated architecture to hunt down all these like esoteric code paths you don't even know about, how many of these bots are just going to be devoted to attacking other bots? So if you give a bot a private key, expect it to get zeroed out pretty quickly. So it has to be multi-factor. There has to be a discrete app layer, and the app layer should separate the user from these different protocols, and these protocols should be chain agnostic. And we're building THORChain in a way that is chain agnostic, that can tolerate TON or Solana or EVM or IBC. And like I said, I want to frame, this is my view of the world. You may disagree with me, in which case, get out there in the arena and build what you think the users on the next billion bots should have. Now, Voltizig is, so we sponsored the coffee machine outside. Go get yourself a Swappuccino, cappuccino, or a rune shot. Voltizig is live, and last night we released the Voltizig Connect. Voltizig takes a multi-party computation protocol, threshold ECDSA and EDSA, open source, of course, audited, of course, and it puts it in your iPhone. It's basically an open source Fireblocks with no fees. Fireblocks, if you're a fund, you're going to pay 100 grand a year to access Fireblocks. We basically took the same technology and put it in an iOS app. So your full device just becomes a co-signer. You're running an MPC. Then we took the Vault Share, which doesn't store funds, and we can stick it into a Chrome extension. And when you jump on Uniswap or Curve.finance or whatever, and you split up a transaction, it will broker a MPC session between your desktop app and your phone. Check it out. It's live. It's in progress. I started building this in January when I launched a crypto fund, and I realized that the multi-sig standard for Solana, the Ethereum, and Bitcoin just sucked. and it can be solved with multi-party MPC. This happened in, like I said, this is my view of the world and how I'm going to build over the next 6 years to build that future. So Kujira was the estranged community from Terra that obviously blew up, and a lot of us probably here have PTSD from Terra. But Terra blew up, and Terra was a flagship CosmWasm chain with IBC. And for those of you who were around in 2020, 2021, the user experience between Mirror, Anchor, and on the suite of Terra products was second to none. It really was a flagship chain. And my opinion is the Cosmos SDK IBC CosmWasm stack is the gold standard app chain. And mainly for the reason that it is live. It's a state machine. It wakes up every second and pokes itself, which is not what you can get on a roll-up or an L2, like an EVM machine, which is basically dead, and you have to poke it to wake up every second. So if you are considering rolling out an app chain for users to do things to accumulate fees to pay your stakeholders, token holders, consider using the Cosm stack. Shared security is an interesting, and I'll talk about it. Shared security is a fascinating direction, and I think we should build upon. Shared security allows you to roll out an app chain very quickly and rent security instead of buying it. And as long as you pay yield natively instead of in esoteric tokens, the security cost is actually really low, far lower than if you're printing your own token. And that's all possible with an app chain. Anyway, getting back to Kujira, the Terra community moved to Kujira, but Kujira themselves blew up through financial mismanagement. So we essentially underwrote their debt in July, and we're moving them to THORChain. So THORChain has this base layer liquidity. It's got about 250 million in TVL, Bitcoin, ETH, and various stables and whatnot. And we're going to expose all that liquidity on a CosmWasm layer powered by Rujira, and also hook it up with IBC. And I was chatting with a bunch of teams over the last few weeks about what they're going to do once we have IBC connected onto THORChain. For so many years, and I told Chris Goes this back in 2019, the original version IBC wasn't expressive. They had some problems with relaying the IBC packets. It didn't have support memos, but the modern IBC v2 that just came out like a month ago, 2 weeks ago, is world-class, and it's what every team should consider using. So this is all coming to THORChain. So just the numbers. Very proud of this because this is blood, sweat, and tears. We were hacked 3 times from various permutations in 2021 on the Ethereum Bifrost with upstream, downstream attacks. So these numbers are hard won. That number is actually out of date for 2 weeks. All-time volume is now 100 billion. And the annual revenue is about 100 million. And I'm just throwing these numbers up there to really focus you that if you grind for 6+ years and not just build an ephemeral product that's gonna, pump and dump or whatever, you actually build over a cycle or 2 cycles. These numbers are all within reach. Just requires focus, and just to get back up when the world throws adversity at you. And we've all lived through hacks. We've all woken up at 2 a.m. getting a call from your CTO that we're being hacked again. That still gives me PTSD, but it's just the stuff that we have to work through, which is why some of the learnings that we've carried from this with the auditing, how we manage security, that's all one in blood. It's the lines of code of THORChain were written in blood, and I'm very proud of those lines of code because we've earned those numbers. But these numbers should inspire you to actually get out there, have a long-term focus, and build something like that. And even these numbers are nothing compared to where we're going. These numbers should be 100x in the next 2 cycles, and that's where we want to go. Integration, and this is another point I want to make, is don't build for your own users, build for everyone. So from day one, we never shipped an interface. We actually just shipped the protocol, but we built in affiliate fees. So we let anyone wrap THORChain and earn fees, basically give away fee revenue. And today we're about to have very large wallets announce support for THORChain because, as an example, Trust Wallet make $1 million a month in integrating THORChain from those affiliate fees. And as a result, THORChain has never had an interface problem. It's never had those phone calls. Well, we have had those phone calls, but we solved those phone calls. And we haven't added any censorship or address screening on the base layer, which would be very difficult anyway to do for a protocol like THORChain. But integrations power THORChain. So anyone building a decentralized protocol or a liquidity layer should think about, 100% fee switch from start. So you share all your fee revenue with your users, your nodes, your LPs, and build an ecosystem around you that can share in the growth of the network and through affiliate fees. So I really want to stress that point home. So the next 2 or 3 cycles, launching the app layer over the next quarter and next year, launching the multi-chain wallet standards as the flagship wallet standard, and not just the ecosystem that we're building in, but also in other wallets. Like every day I log into Twitter and someone else has got the private keys zeroed out from downloading a malicious PDF. And you think about how you're going to bring a next 100 million users or 1 billion bots online, it's not through private keys. Private keys just don't. If you're running a wallet right now, think about getting rid of those private keys and moving to multi-party. That's why we built VaultSig as open source. We're about to upgrade the library open source again. I have this really strong philosophy, set the memes free. THORChain is a good meme, set it free. It's always been open source. So VaultSig you can fork and you should integrate into your own wallet as a multi-chain wallet standard. More integrations and more chain connections. THORChain's a beast. It's very big, very decentralized, very slow. But next year, we're going to really try and solve chain connections and add them very quickly. We will have to recede a bit on our security posture when it comes to these L2s, but let's face it, all these L2s are centralized anyway. So we can take a more centralized posture to these L2s. Solana is coming, TON's coming, and I'll be very curious if you have any other inputs, what chains we should focus on in next year. We're going to see an explosion in these chains. So there's a future of 1,000 L2s. So yeah, if you're building abstraction technology, like for wallet abstraction, gas abstraction, or user abstraction, double down on that because you're about to see an explosion in chains. Ethereum base layer will suffer because all that fee revenue is going to go to L2s and not even in the ETH asset. I mean, Base just announced that they're going to start taking base fees in USDC. So there's a reckoning coming for everyone on don't hold anything sacred. Like Ethereum could be replaced. Solana could be tripped up. Anything could be, just don't hold anything sacred. Just be willing to handle anything, is my point. Now just announce we're putting in 50 million of our own capital to, what we recognize is, so the inflation rate on THORChain is 2%, but it makes another 8% in liquidity fee yield. So the APY on the nodes is about 10%, with only 2% of that being block rewards. So we're actually announcing a fund to double down on this and go for it. So that's it. That's my view of the world, and you may not disagree with me, but if you're building app chains, abstraction, or solving the user problem, or if you just want to focus on getting the bots on chain, then double down. It's the right time to do it. And I think someone else was saying before in the panel before that if you just build and you grind and you have like a multi-year or even a multi-cycle outlook, you will win. This is the right industry to be in. It is intense. Yeah, it really tackles your adversity or your ability to tolerate chaos, but just figure it out, stay in it, keep a sharp mind, and keep an internal low-key of control, but also make sure you have a vision, a 5 or 10-year vision. If you're still around here in 10 years, you'll have done all right. Thank you.